A very happy birthday to you, Sally, 12 years old today. The wind's blowing by a little file away. And David and Zoe Helm from Fairweather Green. Give everybody a big wave. Make your bow. Give them a bow. What about the family stand? Don't forget them. Give everybody the family stand a big wave. Can you take a bow like this? Yeah? Wonderful, thank you. I must also ask you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, would this be the final home game of this season, Super League 96? Would you like to stay behind this evening after the game? I would advise you to do so. Please stay behind once the game has finished, because you might just get a chance to meet and hear some of your favourite players speaking on the microphone. There are some special speeches that I know for one, Robbie Paul wants to have a chat to you all. Yes, he does. And that's going to come after the game. So please hang around. You're more than welcome to do so and join in the fun with us after the game here at the world famous Onslow Stadium this evening. All right, we're ready. Are you ready? The family stand. Let me hear the war cry. That's loud. Over here, let's hear the war cry. Hang on, Steve. Here comes the Halifax Blue Sox. Halifax Blue Sox. Where's that war cry? Stand by for it. Stand by. The Bradford Bulls want to come out to the war cry. Let them hear you. Come on, you Bulls. And here come the complex monsters. Bradford Bulls. Make some noise. Come on. There they are. Ladies and gentlemen.
Halifax. Nearly said the background noise. I think it's more like the foreground noise. There is one heck of an atmosphere here to see Bradford Bulls. There have been fireworks here all season, and the Bradford Bulls have come out for their final home league game here at Onslow Stadium in front of a packed crowd again. I would think there's probably around 15,000 here for the game against the Halifax Blue Sox. Let's have a look at the two sides then, beginning with the Bulls, who will have Stuart Spruce at full-back, the former Widnes player. The three-quarter line, Joe Tamani, Matt Calland, Paul Loughlin and John Scales. At half-back, the pairing is of Graham Bradley and Robbie Paul. The pack, Brian McDermott, James Lowes, Carl Fairbank, Jeremy Donoghue, Bernard Dwyer and Steve McNamara. Halifax will get the game underway. Just time for me to run through their side. Led by full-back Mike Amanga, John Bentley, John Schuster, Graham Hallis, Abby Ikoko on the wing, Johnny Brewer and Craig Dean at half-back. Carl Harrison, Paul Rowley, Paul Anderson, Mark Perrick, Simon Baldwin and Martin Moana. And here straight away, Bradford switching the attack through the middle. Back inside for a rampaging run from Bernard Dwyer, one of four players named this week in the Great Britain side to tour Fiji and New Zealand. Matt Calland involved in the action. And the Bulls with a very strong side out today because Glenn Tomlinson, Paul Cook, Paul Medley and Sonny Nicola on their bench. Well, the ball was knocked backwards apparently there by Jeremy Donoghue. On the last tackle now. And a little chip through. Just testing the full-back today, Micah Manga, who is actually playing at full-back in place of Asa Amona, who's been left out. Now John Bentley, a frequent try-scorer against Bradford in their days as Northern and now as the Bulls. Mark Perrett, preferred in the second row to Paul Heighton today. Halifax usually raise their game against Bradford. It was a terrific clash at Thrum Hall this season, which Bradford won just by the 2 points, 22-20. Well, this could be as close today. And Carl Harrison now, I'm told he became a proud father again about 4 weeks ago. New son James from his wife Suzanne. Now John Scales. Scales, the former Leeds winger, the man who put twice on the board against Leeds in the Challenge Cup semi-final, got another at Wembley. Stuart Spruce from full-back. Let's have a word from the Halifax camp. You reckon there's a bit of change going on in Steve Sims' mind for this one?
Well, I'm talking about one of the players' parents. They spent the whole week working on new plays, new tactics. I think it's a bit risky against a team like Bradford. Usually you decide 3 or 4 weeks to settle down, but if it comes off this afternoon, I don't think anybody will be complaining, John.
Well, they've certainly come out steamed up for it, there's no question about that. Halifax came out first, and they always, as I say, raised their game against Bradford. It could not have been a more beautiful afternoon. Lovely sunny conditions, but it's going to be very hot down there on the pitch. I think the temperature is around about 85 degrees. Robbie Paul with a long ball. That's opening up. Here goes Paul Loughlin now. Switches the play back inside for John Scales. He'll keep the move going with Robbie Paul now. Lobbing it over the top to McDermott. And Brian McDermott nailed some 35 yards out. And it's Halifax's ball. And taking it up is Micah Manga, the Western Samoan, former Rugby Union international. Now with Ikuku, brother of Effin, of course, the Wimbledon striker. This is Abi Ikoku, played his rugby league at London before coming north, which is a funny thing to say in rugby league, to Halifax. Good burst again from Harrison. From acting halfback, here goes Paul Rowley, who's had such an influential season, and he's taken out in the tackle by Graham Bradley, who's had a wonderful last month, named as the matchman of the month, and the ball lost by Halifax, who can't afford to make mistakes like that.
Well, I'm not sure whether the Bradford player, I think it's Donoghue or McDermott, was in an offside position there. Admittedly, you carry on like a professional. I don't think Halifax supporters were happy with it, but both teams certainly fired up for this one. It's end-to-end stuff in the opening minutes. Halifax moving in numbers, but being drawn into the middle is allowing the long passes to float out as it did just a minute ago to Loughlin. And another long one, and here Halifax could be caught again on the outside.
Spruce joining in the attack. 5 minutes played. Bradford Bulls 0, Halifax Blue Sox 0. Paul Loughlin will kick the touch, and he'll find that touch as well. So it'll be Halifax head and ball at the scrum. And Steve Sims has been working all week, obviously, on ways of counteracting Bradford's attacking ploys. They do play a far more expansive game, Bradford, nowadays. But this will be Halifax's ball from the scrum. John Bentley's come in field. John Bentley, who recently scored his 100th try for Halifax since his move there from Leeds. Switch for Ikoku. No way through there, but he manages to carry the ball almost to halfway. And has the ball been lost? That's amazing, really, that the ball has been lost there. The touch judge signalled there was nothing wrong with the tackle. Now Timone's come in field as well. This very strong man who's a big crowd favourite here. And they'll switch it across. Now McDermott plunges forward. The biggest man on the Bradford side. And come on, you Bulls, is the cry. Here's Dwyer. And what a success Bernard Dwyer has been since he moved as part of the deal for Paul Newler from St Helens. The ball switched inside, and here might be the first try of the afternoon. Oh, it's gone astray. There was a real chance there for Bradford as the ball was switched inside with Doniger and Robbie Paul involved, but Halifax got their hands crucially on the ball, and that really was a let-off for the Blue Sox.
Well, it was a good play by the Bulls, and as a commentator it normally happens to you say Halifax are going to be stretched on the outside, nearly Bradford there going down the middle.
But it's Halifax in possession on halfway. Now there's a crucial tackle made there too by Robbie Paul. Moana had made the initial inroads there. Again, Rowley will be at acting half-back. Key issue today between Rowley and James Lowes. Now the ball comes back off the Bradford man, and Schuster will collect, but he forced the Doniger's tackle. And a bit of handover. And I think we'll see a lot of drinks arriving on the pitch today.
Well, I'm sure you will. Somebody's going to have to take one. He took the claret all down the front of the shirt.
Matt Callan,
big man. It's a hard game, and you protect the knocks. He'll go and spend 10 minutes in the sin bin, and I think he'll be grateful of it, even at this early stage in the game. Just 10 minutes gone.
The ball with Bradford, and this looks dangerous for them now. Dwyer across the line, and Bradford have got chances this time. Tamani's coming field. He'll take the pass. No, and it was Tamani. Good work again in defence from Halifax. The chance is still here for the Bradford Bulls. Switching play left and right. Robbie Paul with the latest ball. Well held in the tackle, McNamara. Doniger. Short side for Paul. They look to switch it back in field here. Paul Loughlin. Bradford keep the ball moving. And it looks as though they might try and stretch Halifax on the outside. Still we look for the first try of the afternoon. And this is going to be it. And the Bradford Bulls go over. And the referee looks, and the referee gives the try. And Stuart Spruce it was who stretched out in the final analysis right over that line, and the former witness man who has been such a hit since he came here gets his 16th try of the season, 10 of them for the Bulls. McNamara pulls it right across the face of goal, and the touch judges say no, but Bradford Bulls have a 4-point lead after 8 minutes.
Well, it looked to me as though Steve seems to be working on Halifax's defence this week, because they've held the Bulls out somehow. They've been close to the line on 2 or 3 occasions, but when you're under so much pressure, tackling under your own line, something's got to give eventually.
Give it did. Stuart Spruce was over. Well, it's always good to get the nose in front, which is what the Bulls have done. Now driving forward for Halifax is Paul Anderson, another former Leeds player. Switching in now for Schuster, the Western Samoan, the point scoring machine, although most of those points come from his boot. Then Mwanga's involved. Harrison does well to get the ball back for Rowley here. And it's John Bentley who tries to take on Scales on the outside. Somehow he managed to get that ball back, and they've managed to keep in play as well, Halifax. But there was no way through for them down the left. Now it's Simon Baldwin, the head cap. Rowley. Scales decides to collect and does so well. Scales, whose fitness has been in doubt this week. He missed the win at Workington last week. What a good recruit he's been. Spruce. Good tackling there involving Mark Perrott. Now McDermott. Few and ahs around the ground there. I think they thought fists were flying. No complaint. And again, Halifax looked as though they might just be stretched on that right-hand side, and they might still. So much pace about Bradford these days. Robbie Paul again the fulcrum of the attack, and he switches the pace in there twice. Lovely little reverse ball to set Bradley in motion, and he is taken out. Moana who made that tackle, and then a little dink through, but that didn't come off, and Schuster accepted it gratefully.
Yeah, well, Bradford have lacked in intensity, even by Brian Smith's own comments in the last couple of games since they beat St Helens and Wigan. Both teams with plenty of intensity in the opening 15 minutes of this game. I think that's the first penalty, not for foul play. We hope it doesn't resolve to that, because it certainly has been played in a great spirit, in a holiday atmosphere, in the holiday temperatures.
It's certainly that. Anderson here for Halifax. Yes, the referee Steve Presley has kept it moving pretty well, and it's difficult for referees as well in these conditions. Harrison on the burst. Taken down by Carl Fairbank and McDermott. Then along the line from Craig Dean. You really do have to look at these numbers nowadays. 35 is Johnny Brewer, the former Parramatta player. Because Brian Smith's off back to Parramatta very shortly. Well, it's a good position. They've got a platform here of Halifax. And yet again, Roll is in at the forefront of this move. He's featured in many of their best moves. It's the last tackle, and there is Brewer, and here is Bentley, and he kicks ahead. Oh, and the ball was lost, and if Bentley had managed to hold on there, he may have just snapped a try for Halifax.
Well, uncharacteristic of Stuart Spruce making a mistake, but it was a good kick from Bentley. I think Spruce unsighted by the players that were in front of him, and John Bentley so close, could he have kept hold of that ball? And normally, conditions like these, they do. I've heard supporters complaining about the cold and miserable at Odsal, and this afternoon complaining again that it's far too warm.
They can't win at Odsal, I'll tell you. There was Dwyer. I kind of noticed that Tamani had come infield from the play. The ball, he seems very eager to get involved, and now Brian McDermott, who was a professional boxer, gets involved in some fisticuffs here, and the referee is in quickly. I'm not quite sure who the Halifax player was there.
Well, Paul Anderson certainly threw the punch at McDermott. Whether it was in retaliation, I don't know. But two big men clashing together like that, then tempers perhaps getting a little bit frayed. The referee's going to have a word with both linesmen. I'm sure they'll have seen who the original aggravator was.
Well, you were talking about the temperature here. I think on a hot day, tempers do tend to get frayed a bit more quickly.
Well, they certainly do. It's proved it there. We were just saying it was being played in a clean spirit. Well, wrong again.
Well, that's hazard of the job, I'm afraid. And Carl Harrison has been brought alongside Anderson, and Anderson will go, much to the delight of the Bulls fans. But I think McDermott could go too. Yes, he will. So both sides are reduced to 12 men for the next 10 minutes. 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, as they say.
Well, I think he's done the right thing there. It's as we've said, it's a tough game, and referees have got to be on top of it all the time. There's more demands being made on them as it's turned to a full-time game. And Steve Presley doing the sensible thing and just showing the other players that he's not going to stand for any messing.
Bradford were awarded the penalty, and it's given them the chance to set something up again here now. And the ball is very cleverly switched from left to right by McNamara, who's a good ball player. And the touch judge is on again. And they're going to have to stamp down on this quickly. Everybody's niggling at the moment, and the atmosphere has degenerated rapidly in the last 5 or 6 minutes. And again, it's a Halifax man and a Bradford man who are pulled out, both of them. Yeah, Graham Bradley and Graham Hallis. Hallis, the Dudley Hill man, not far from here, who came to the club from Hull KR. And Bradley, the Australian. But again, the penalty is awarded to Bradford, despite the fact that words were spoken to the Bradford player too. And so here they come, and the ball is away for Bernard Dwyer. Runs straight into a blue and white shirt. Donoghue. So no more than 5 metres away from that Halifax try line now, and Bradford will look for their second score of the afternoon, and they'll switch it long, and surely they'll try and get Tamani in. The ball, they don't need him! They do not need him, and the try is given, and the Bulls are soaring into the lead here. Graham Bradley involved in the move, but it was switched out to that right-hand touchline, and Bradford have their second try of the afternoon, and they go into an 8-point lead, and the Blue Sox simply had no answer to that.
And a try score for the Bulls, number 3, Graham Bradley.
And there you heard the confirmation of Graham Bradley's 9th try for the Bradford Bulls. And what an influential player he's been in the last few weeks.
Well, he has been. He's won the Gold Award for what month?
For the month of July.
July. I think some getting to me. He's won the Gold Award for July. The Stones Bitter presented with that earlier this week. Halifax giving 2 penalties away to put Bradford in that position, which did make it a bit easier for Bradford. But I think you'll find the history between Mr. Bradley and Mr. Hallis goes back to Castleford and Hull KR days, respectively.
And it's a terrific kick from McNamara. He raises his arm, the referee raises his arm, up go the flags, and the Bulls lead the Blue Sox by 10 points to 0.
Try number 26, Steve McNamara. And number 20, Mike Cullen, back on after blow bid for Glenn Tomlinson.
Bradford have brought Glenn Tomlinson, one of their substitutes, on after about quarter of an hour here. So it's all going the Bulls' way at the moment, and it's shaping up very much for them to visit Wigan in the Premiership. It's been a monumental season here at Odsal. Now Harrison for Halifax, up towards halfway. He really keeps going very well. I saw him play against Workington the other week, and that was another sizzling hot Sunday. And Carl Harrison stayed the pace for well over the hour.
He does it better than most props. The big men in the summer conditions have tended to be spelled, but Carl Harrison is a man who will stick out the full 80 minutes. Perhaps not today, might last 70, but he really has been a consistent player all through the season for Alex.
Look at this for a run from John Scales. He accepted that kick through from Ikuku. Gets up to the 20-metre line. Infield is Tamani. Dwyer. Well, there's always a bit of a roar on when Bernard Dwyer gets in possession. Oh, and again they make great progress, and they're always looking for one another. And as Carl Fairbank tore up the middle there, he was aware that there was support around. Fairbank's involved. Here goes Paul Loughlin, the ball inside, but a forward pass given already, and so there will be no score for Stuart Spruce this time. It's 10 years since Halifax last won here at Odsal. They did beat the Bulls at the McAlpine Stadium when Bradford's home game was switched there on New Year's Day. So that was a famous victory for them, but they've not been so fortunate over the years here at Odsal. And they're 10 points adrift at the moment. It's been a really in and out season for Halifax. Some good performances interspersed with some pretty poor ones. They had a poor start to the campaign. And there's Fairbank again. Harrison, he's the one that you'd expect to carry the fight. And Rowley always makes good yardage, but offside surely against Dwyer, not given. which is why I think Dwyer didn't continue with his tackle. So Rowley gets the ball back in here. Well taken on by Simon Baldwin. Then the switch. And then from Amanga, he'll be looking again, and Perrett's here, and Mark Perrett will stretch and he will score too, and Halifax are on the board thanks to Mark Perrett, who was up at the shoulder in support. Amanga was involved too, but Mark Perrett taking the pass and galloping the 10 metres he had to do to breach the Bradford line.
Well, I think Bernard Dwyer initially in offside position had hold of Rowley once over. Rowley allowed to go 5 or 6 more metres, gave Halifax the chance to set up that attacking position. I was just thinking that Stuart Spruce is spending a lot of time in the Bradford line, and perhaps a kick over the top might benefit Halifax. But Brewer came up with the inside pass perfectly to Perrett, and Perrett still had a lot of work to do from 10 metres out, but managed to get over for a reply that Halifax desperately needed.
Mark Perrett.
Mark Perrett, the scorer, and the Halifax Blue Sox have their first try of the afternoon. Johnny Schuster with 97 goals kicked already this season, and that's number 98, and it's 10 points to 6, and the Blue Sox are right back in the game.
By number 3, John
Well,
Schuster.
Bradford have spent most of the first half in the Halifax half of the field, and they've been close on 3 or 4 occasions. Halifax have managed to defend strongly on most of those times, and the one real chance they had earlier, Bentley fluffed, but Halifax could prove when they do get near the Bulls line that they are capable of scoring themselves.
But it's Bradford back in possession, as you would expect from the kick. It's Fairbank who took the catch, and a good tackle there. Screaming for offside, but none was forthcoming. Dwyer again, this workhorse who comes ploughing up the middle so many times. Switch this time from James Lowes, former Leeds hooker, who many consider to be unlucky not to be on the tour party. And he's involved again. And Lowes and McNamara highly influential, and there you felt that Halifax missed something. It's taken well by Bentley. And now he'll stretch his legs and he'll make good ground across field, admittedly, but John Bentley's still going. He's a courageous player. Didn't get the pass away to Ikoku, who now has the ball. 25 minutes played. It's Bradford Bulls 10, Halifax Blue Sox 6, and this is the try scorer, Mark Perrett. So that's Dean, who's made a scuttling little run over halfway. Cleverly shielded and then given away for Schuster, who makes ground up the middle, and this is much better from Halifax. Suddenly got their game together. They're piecing it together much better now, and Rowley there. Harrison, 15 metres out. Brewer, lovely little inside ball, and there is a really excellent try for Halifax. Mike Amanga coming up in the line. Brewer's reverse ball was excellent. Amanga had only a matter of yards. He had a stroll into the line. And Halifax are right back in this game now, and what a signing Mike Amanga has been.
Well, he has, but it's Paul Rowley and Johnny Brewer that's brought Halifax back into this game. Rowley's darting run from the acting half position, using a Bradford man as the shield originally, but again it gave Halifax that extra bit of time to set up the position, and John Brewer's ball, Bradford falling for the sucker punch twice in 3 minutes, as Brewer's inside pass to Amanga left Bradford wanting again in defence, as Amanga has put Halifax right back into this game level, and Schuster from a much simpler position surely will put them into the lead for the first time.
Well, it all looked to be going so well for the Bradford Bulls a few moments ago, but here is Schuster, and the tide has really turned. So much so that Schuster gives Halifax the lead at 12 points to 10, and there's a real game on here now.
With Robinson in the Super League, I would love to score 5 this afternoon.
Yeah, that would really annoy the Bulls fans, unless one of theirs got 6, of course. Penalty given. But this situation, it was completely unforeseen a few moments ago, and everything was going Bradford's way. And of course those two players who went off a few moments ago, Brian McDermott of Bradford and Halifax's Paul Anderson, are due back on shortly. Oh, in fact, they're back on already. And here is McDermott now, in fact, plunging over that 20-metre line. Oh, that's a good reverse ball. McNamara there to take it from Fairbank, and Lowe's, and here they come again, and they're queuing up on that right-hand side, and the ball in field, and no, he's bounced it down over the try line, and the referee can't surely give that. Impossible to give that as a try. Well, the ball was bounced, and they can hardly complain about that decision. I don't think he'd have been getting many points back in Halifax tonight if he'd have given that one.
Well, I'm sure he wouldn't. I know one of the earlier Bradford tries was just the downward pressure. It looked very close, so very possible that the ball could have been dropped. It's Graham Bradley again, who's been spoken to by Steve Presley. But again, Bradford failing to convert the pressure into points, and they could pay dearly for that at the end of the 80 minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing how Halifax always raise their game against Bradford. Doesn't matter their respective positions in the league table. Bradford certainly would be expected to win this one, third as they are behind Wigan and St Helens. Halifax are warming up Arsaamone, another of their substitutes. In fact, all 4 of their subs are down on the touchline at the moment, but it's Halifax in possession. The ball with Dean. Well, Halifax have certainly improved as the game has gone on, and what Steve Sims has done to do that, I'm not quite sure, but certainly had an effect. That was Simon Baldwin, and a fine touch, all right. And Paul Anderson looks as though he may have to leave the field. He's taken a boot off, and Anderson, who's had a few injury problems over the years since he left Headingley for Thrum Hall, may not play any further part in the game. We shall see. Just under 10 minutes left for half-time.
Number 19, Paul Hyton replaces number 10.
Paul Hyton's come on, lovely ball inside from McDermott. Lowe's was at his shoulder to take on the play for the Bulls. And now they'll come towards halfway with Robbie Paul, who's had a strangely quiet afternoon. In fact, Halifax have clearly had a strategy to cope with Robbie Paul, because he's been almost ineffective, certainly by his standards. But it is a blisteringly hot afternoon down there on the pitch, and another penalty awarded against the Blue Sox. Close to halfway. Mr. Presley having none of that. And so Paul Loughlin will put boot to ball and again set up the Bulls here.
Lindsay Walker find Andrew Wright. That's Lindsay Walker to find.
So can Bradford regain the lead before half-time? McDermott the first up this time. Now it'll be switched across here. A tremendous plunge again from Carl Fairbank. He's done well this afternoon. Well, they're all over the place here. Halifax were advancing very quickly there. Bradford still have the possession, and they're only 5 metres away from that Halifax try line again. Not the best ball, but it might still produce something here. Joe Tamani's in at the corner. Again, did he bounce the ball, though? I think he may have done, yes. The referee was there, and Tamani was undoubtedly over the Halifax line, but didn't ground it.
Well, it looked as though he'd been taken out Tamani's still down. I think it looked like Graham Alice that were down with it, but he's still standing. But again, Halifax stretch, Bradford moving the ball out to that far side, which is rather surprising because most teams tend to think that Schuster and Bentley are the weak side in defence. But down that right-hand side, Bradford have broke through, and they've been forced into the error twice, losing the ball over the line. And again, that could be vital at the end of the 80 minutes. I'm not sure who it is that's down on the far side. Looks like Mark Perrick, perhaps. But he's injured himself, but he's injured himself in a good cause because he stopped Tamani scoring the try.
Yeah, Bradford will be bitterly disappointed with their finishing, and I think that's something that Brian Smith will talk to them about at half-time. They certainly should have had 2 more tries than they have had. Cal Fairbank is coming off for a breather. And Paul Medley's out there. Kokulen. Oof, absolutely crunching tackle that time. Rowley, and offside given against Bradford now. No, in fact, he was dumping on the ground. He didn't like the look of that, Mr. Presley. And so the penalty is awarded. And the scorer of Halifax's second try, Micah Manga, puts the ball out. And Mark Perrett has been replaced too by Cal Gillespie for Halifax. Well, it's not surprising there are so many substitutions on a warm afternoon like this. Still Carl Harrison's out there. And Manga, good position again for Halifax here. And Manga's been involved in most of the best incidents for them. And the switch inside is to Moana this time. Martin Moana, the former junior Kiwi from Waikato. Bentley. Brewer. Rowley, Dean, little chip through from Dean. It's got to be taken by Scales. He'll have to run it out from behind his own line, and he just made it. Certainly tight back there for the Bulls. And 5 minutes from half-time, they are trailing, and they're penned back in their own quarter. Well, they're not accustomed to being in this position very often at home. Remember, they're unbeaten here all season. Now Medley for the first time. He'd love to do well against Halifax, the club that sold him to Bradford. Now Dwyer. Oh, and he's got that ball away brilliantly. Spruce coming up, stretches the legs, away he goes. Stuart Spruce, battling run from him. That's tremendous work from the former witness man. And here come the Bulls now, and they're in full cry. It's Paul, he's in there again, and Robbie Paul goes for the corner, switches it back inside for Laughlin, keeps it going, and then the ball comes off Paul, out of play, and Bradford have frittered another chance. But that's the first glimpse we've really had of Robbie Paul's genius.
Well, he's a superb player, but towards the end of the first half, in that instance there, perhaps Bradford trying to keep it alive in panic, trying to get back in front just before half-time, because no team likes going into a dressing room losing at half-time, especially to strict disciplinarian coaches, as most Australians are.
Yeah, they'll feel the wrath of Brian Smith's tongue in a few minutes' time. 3 minutes to half-time it is. And the Bradford Bulls 10, the Halifax Blue Sox 12. Koku. Oh, cries of forward as Gillespie took the pass, but the referee was satisfied with it. Rowley. Dean. Who, it hadn't been expected that Dean would be named when the side was originally put out. Well, there's no Tuilangi there today. And John Bentley remonstrates with the touch judge, but he said it went out on the full, and so Bradford will have the ball back with around 3 minutes of the half left. But they need a try to take the lead. And they try to stretch Halifax with Graham Bradley. Oh, and Bradley's pass goes astray. He didn't really need to part with it there on the first tackle.
Well, no, as I said, just a moment ago, it could be panic. They don't want to go in and face the coach. Losing at half-time, Graham Bradley on the first tackle, giving possession away, and Halifax now perhaps a chance to increase the lead before half-time.
Ganak acting half-back, Paul Rowley, then Brewer. Well, Paul Heighton's only 19 years of age from Waterhead. He's the substitute forward who's on at the moment. This is Craig Dean. Then Moana. Dean really orchestrating a lovely move. And Johnny Schuster might get another one for Halifax here. Just didn't have the pace to get out of Spruce's tackle. But still Halifax are here with Moana. Amanga's in. And Halifax have another score for sure. And Mike Amanga has his second and Halifax's third try. Schuster with the original break there. He took play to within 10 metres of the Bradford line, and then good backup play involving Moana, and finally Omanga. And Bradford have really been punished for some slack work.
Well, they've got Graham Bradley to thank for that of Halifax, and I don't think Steve Sims' game plan this week involved Bradford losing possession over the Halifax line and then handing a gift wrap ball for which Halifax capitalise. Schuster, well, perhaps the leg's getting a bit old for the run towards the line, but Amanga was there, poaching as ever, and to say he's playing fullback, he's spending, like Spruce, a lot of time up in the attacking line, and well, I said earlier about 5 tries again, well, he's got 2. There's a long way to go, but he was there at the right time again.
5 tries scored already in this match, and 3 of them have gone to fullbacks. 1 to Spruce, 2 to Amanga. He got 5 against Workington about 3 or 4 weeks ago. 2 already today. And if Schuster puts this one over, Bradford Bulls are going to find themselves with a lot of work to do in the second half. So Schuster's kicked 2 out of 2. And if he kicks this, it will be his 100th goal of the season. Tees it up well, strikes it well, and the century is there for John Schuster. And Halifax are racing ahead here into an 18-10 lead, and they really have turned this game around. Bradford led 10-0. It's now Bradford 10, Halifax 18.
Well, it silenced the Bradford supporters. They're going for the end of season big bang, but the blue touch paper is yet to be lit.
And they've responded by taking off Graham Bradley, whose mistake led to that try, and they've replaced him with Glenn Tomlinson, the former Batley player, another Australian. Scales running it well out of defence. Still going, John Scales is an exciting runner, this man. Now it's Tamani. Four tackles left, but Bradford haven't really made the inroads into the Halifax defence that they were doing in the first 15 minutes, where it really was one-way traffic. They do switch it around well though, and Tomlinson involved for the first time, and he's got his pass away to Loughlin as well. Lowe's, and now Dwyer, who always makes headway, finds his former St Helens colleague Loughlin. Now it's McDermott. Is there a way up the middle for him? They've got to find some space, Bradford. They're not finding any at the moment. Tomlinson held in the tackle. That tackler was Simon Baldwin. Now Jimmy Lowe's, the chip over the top. It'll be taken by Omanga, and he's just been able to run it out before those marauding Bradford Bulls come racing on him, and we're in time added on in the first half. So listen out for that hooter any moment. What a good half for the Halifax Blue Sox, though, especially having gone into arrears as early as they did. They stuck to their task and they've played very well. As I said earlier, there were only 2 points in it at Thrum Hall, and it promises to be quite close again today. Dean, the longer ball this time, and it's spilled. And before James Lowe's picks the ball up, the referee signals The knock on, the scrum and the Bradford put in. But will they have time to do anything from the scrum? So Tomlinson feeds that scrum, and it's picked out of it, in fact, by Dwyer. It's certainly probably Bradford's best performer today, Bernard Dwyer. Tomlinson again. Spruce has joined the line, and Spruce goes well. He runs superbly, Stuart Spruce. He really is a thoroughbred of a fullback. Bradford need a score before half-time, because they are on the end of a strict talking to, I'm sure, from Brian Smith, no matter what happens. But life could be a bit easier for them if they can get another try. They are 5 metres out, and that hooter cannot be long delayed now. But there might just be time for Bradford. Can they score from this? Laughlin, the ball back inside. It's dropped on the line, and that's at least the third time that Bradford have reached the Halifax line and not been able to ground the ball for the try.
Well, it's reminiscent of Halifax early in the season when they lost the first 5 or 6 games and the run of the ball went against them. It's all coming at once for Bradford this afternoon. They should have been way out in front by now, but Halifax have kept the cool. They've scored 18 points after Bradford were 10-0 up, when you usually see your heads go down at a ground like this, especially after Bradford's big win early in the season. But all credit to Halifax, they've stuck to the task, and surprisingly, perhaps they're going in leading by 8 points at the break.
Bradford have it all to do in the second half. It started so well with Stuart Spruce and Graham Bradley getting the tries, and McNamara 1 goal. But since then, Mike Amarga's 2 tries and 1 from Mark Berrett, plus 3 goals from John Schuster, make it 18-10 to Halifax at the interval.
Bradford balls.
Well, they've just been playing run with the Bulls here, and run to the line, he said. The Bulls have got to run to the Halifax line a few times if they're going to pull this one out of the fire, because on the resumption they are 18 points to 10 behind, and this one certainly has not gone according to script. It did for the first 15 minutes or so, with Stuart Spruce and Graham Bradley racing in for tries, but Bradford have wasted a lot close to the Halifax line, and that's something they'll have to put right. Let's see what Brian Smith and Matthew Elliott have been able to say to the team for the second half. And away we go again from the boot of McNamara. Well, I would think that Halifax will be considerably encouraged by their performance. Oh, screams of forward from the Bradford fans, and you can see a cloud of dust coming up from the dry surface here at Odsall. We've not been able to say that many times over the years, but dry enough it is today. Now Moana on to Dean. And Bradford have another injury as well. I think Bernard Dwyer stayed down, and he's been a highly crucial figure for them. Away from Rowley, chipped forward by Dean. Should be an easy enough catch, this one. And Scales is off again, and he really has run with some great purpose. Has to switch it back for Tamani. This big, powerful man. Not had many running chances, should have scored 1 try today. That was a good, strong burst up the middle. It's Matt Calland initially, and now the penalty will be given. The crowd like that one. And I think the penalty count is very much in Bradford Bulls' favour.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's Golden Campbell winning number is 1422.
Well, I think it's the same scenario as in the first half. Bradford will be looking to put early points on.
Well, I think it's an absolute must for Bradford to put early points on. Brian Smith will have told them what they've got to do, as Steve Sims has told Halifax what to do in defence. And one of the things you mustn't do is to give away penalties. And the result of that is Bradford with the early pressure in the Halifax red zone, as they call it in Australia.
And there goes Paul Medley, and Medley batters his way through, and Medley's to within 3-4 metres of that Halifax try line. They need a quick play of the ball. It's Paul, it's Tamani, and the ball has been lost again. And Bradford are their own worst enemies today. Paddock has really set in close to the Halifax line. Medley almost made it all the way himself, and then the position, well, it really was frittered away.
Well, Medley, perhaps 5-6 years ago, would have gone round a Manga. It was a superb tackle. But I noticed Robbie Paul in back play shrugging his shoulders. But I think it's up to something special from Robbie Paul to pull back for Bradford back into this game.
They really have wasted 3-4 excellent scoring opportunities. So still Bradford 10, Halifax 18. Martin Moana. Well, there was just a hint maybe last week that Bradford were not on song when they struggled up at Workington against a side that everybody has beaten this season. Really was one of the poorer Bulls' performances, and they're finding it hard to reproduce their best today, especially close to the line. Charged down, fumbled, must be Bradford's ball. Referee says play on. And play on they will now. With Tamani, again he's eager to be involved. Again he goes through the middle. And again the Bradford Bulls fans think that he was being held down unfairly. Now it's McNamara. Lowe's acting half back. This is James Lowe's. Then along the line, Tomlinson, Medley. Gets it back it wasn't a very clean ball he got away, but Stuart Spruce made something of it. And here they come now, close to that Halifax line. Here's Bernard Dwyer spinning away in the tackle. And there are a couple to go maybe. Frustration for the Bulls and their fans. And then Donegat reverses it for Paul, but they don't know which way to go. And it's on the last tackle again. McDermott, Spruce once again entering the line, and it's gone out of play. And Bradford, close to that Halifax line, can do nothing right.
Well, Robbie Paul again had an opportunity with space there. He didn't use it. He fell to the tackle, and perhaps the rest of his Bradford teammates are just expecting a little bit too much of him this afternoon. But it's a 17-man game. Every man has to play their part, and Robbie Paul has yet to play his. I think Spruce and Dwyer, the pick of the Bradford players, but the Halifax halfbacks, Dean and Brewer, are doing extremely well, considering I think it's the first time they've played together. Dean just coming back from injury, and Brewer coming back to fitness after being laid off for 12 months.
Well, yet again there was a scream for a forward pass there. The referee was having none of it, and Halifax have a good position to attack from here. Brewer, that Australian, involved yet again, should be collected this time by Robbie Paul. It is. Oh, and he jinks beautifully inside the first tackle, finally pinned down. And things just not happening for the Bulls at the moment. Which way's Tamani going to go now? Up the middle. What a strong and a spirited runner he is. And again the penalty is given by Mr. Presley to the Bulls. And I think the Bradford Bulls fans are getting a bit irate with some of the Halifax tactics.
It's getting a bit reminiscent of Central Park and St Helens, where on the popular side of the ground the supporters try to get to the referee. It shouldn't get to any referee. In this game, it perhaps gets a little bit daunting, especially somewhere like Odsal, where they didn't used to be able to hear a pin drop, but now you have 15,000 people screaming for your head every time there's a wrong decision.
Tamani's put another pass down. That one from Tomlinson was straightforward. Tamani will be very unhappy with that. And here goes Ikoku. Brian Smith will be very unhappy with that too. Moana has run well today. Rowley finds Heighton at his shoulder. Craig Dean. Brewer, he's just played a good reverse ball, Johnny Brewer. He's used that ploy to good effect today. The Manga was nailed on that occasion. Missing out Hallis, and Ikoku taken in the tackle. Graham Hallis. And quite sensibly, Craig Dean goes for the kick to touch. And that was good pressure play from Halifax.
I think it's going back to some of the old tactics. I know Maurice Bamford used it to good effect, where when you're in the lead you use your 5 tackles up and you put the other side back down towards the line as far as you can, and then you tackle them. More now, for hopefully the other side are going to make a mistake, perhaps spill the ball up, or you can contain them in their own quarter of the field. But it was something that was seen a lot more in the old game, where kicking was used an awful lot more than it is in the game of today.
Well, Bradford had the ball from the scrum, and here goes McDermott, this huge figure of a man, and play goes back inside the Halifax Blue Sox half. But Bradford really needs something now. Oh, and a very high tackle on Paul Medley there. The crowd really hooted at that one, and the referee must do something about that, and he will certainly take action here. The crowd again baying for blood. The penalty will be awarded to Bradford, and no more than that. Well, I think the crowd wanted a little more. Sonny Nichols come on for Bradford Bulls now. So another change in personnel made by Bradford, but they just can't get a try. Offside given. Well, maybe they can now. If they get one at this stage, the game will come alive again. Remember, Halifax have an 8-point advantage. And here goes Laughlin, and he was so close. Now it's Robbie Paul. Good, keen, eager tackling from Halifax, though. They kept Paul out. Sonny Nicholl, they're not going to keep him out. He's been on the field less than 60 seconds. Sonny Nicholl goes storming in over the Halifax Blue Sox line, and the Bulls are right back in it. That's what you call a good substitution.
Well, London and Wigan yesterday. London had Wigan on the rack, and they brought on Sean Edwards, and he pulled the game out of the bag. Sonny Nicholl, perhaps not the same presence throughout a game as Sean Edwards, but he had the presence to force his way over the Halifax line to put Bradford right back into this game. They needed the first score of the second half, and after a few close calls, they finally made it.
And McNamara's made the conversion as well. And it's now 16-18.
And a try converted by number 26, Steve McNamara.
Well, Bradford really needed that score, and they're now within 2 points of the Blue Sox. John Bentley. Well, Sonny Nicholas forever dangerous near the line. To be fair, I think Halifax were their own worst enemies there, because they conceded 2 penalties in the space of 60 seconds, which allowed Bradford to set up the position from which they scored. And now a penalty will be given against the Bulls. Paul Medley involved. And then Rowley, and nobody was looking there, and the ball is lost, and he's back with Robbie Paul at Bradford, and he sets off an amazing run and feeds it out for Scales, who'll have to come in field, and he does so well. That's where he's strong. Gives it off to Tomlinson. Glenn Tomlinson looks for support, falls at halfway. Well, John Scales is injured there in midfield. The referee stops the play again. The touches come out, and it's certainly been not for the faint-hearted, this one.
Well, it hasn't. Scales has gone down. The tackle, I don't think, was illegal. It was Halifax player had committed himself to Scales, and he'd got the pass away, and it's just one of them things. But it's getting a little bit bad-tempered. Pettit's back on. He's been spoken to by referee Presley. But after an enthralling first half, we could certainly do without it descending into a brawl.
And McDermott's come off again. That's the second time he's been off the pitch. Simbin in the first half.
22 McDermott is number 21, Carl Fairbank.
His replacement is Carl Fairbank, a pretty useful replacement as well. In fact, I thought he had a good first half, Fairbank.
He did. He had a very good first half. He's getting, well, you think he's getting to the end of his career. Unlucky to be left out of the Wembley side for the Challenge Cup final, but certainly a 100% runner. Perhaps the kind of man that Bradford have been lacking to just inject that little bit of pace and spark back into the Bulls forwards.
It was Fairbank who was first up there, then Dwyer. This is Tomlinson now. The reverse ball is a good one, and Stuart Spruce will go for the line, and Stuart Spruce is to within. Oh, they haven't got him down yet. He might get there even now. He touched the ball down. The Bradford players leap. He's given the try. Well, that was close. It owed everything to tenacity, and Stuart Spruce takes the Bulls back into the lead. What's the Halifax verdict on that one?
Well, you know what the Halifax supporters are going to say about that. The man went down, he was tackled short of the line, and the great argument rages on about when a man's actually tackled. There was an incident in one of the games last week where a penalty was given for a man that had gone down in a similar position. It's referee's interpretation, but all credit to Spruce, never stopped the momentum and carried on towards the Halifax line.
They've got themselves back in the lead at 20-18.
You were saying earlier about how Bradford needed the first score. Well, they've got the first 10 points of the second half. Now will Halifax get the next 18?
Well, that's certainly what everybody from Thrum Hall would be hoping. And perish the thought for everybody here at Odsal. But I think we have to emphasise that with some steadier finishing, Bradford would have been home and dry already. They really have wasted some golden opportunities close to the Halifax line. Kyle Harrison, that's a tremendous Great Britain prop forward over the years, won over a dozen caps. Away from Rowley, Dean with the kick. Will it find touch? No. And there goes Spruce again. Carves a gap through the middle. He's a very exciting runner, no question about that. Tamani. In fact, there's a lot of exciting players around in this Bulls side, every one of them. Here's perhaps the most exciting in Robbie Paul, and he's created the space well there, but the ball dropped, and there will be a scrum. Spruce certainly an outstanding talent.
Well, it's been a day for fullbacks so far. Amanga was the man that made the tackle on him as he broke through. They've scored 2 tries apiece, and I think they'll be vying for the man of the match honours at the end of the game. But 2 superb fullbacks. Spruce, of course, proved that in his days with Widnes. Amanga, perhaps the form fullback of the centenary season, came really raw from the Western Samoa Rugby Union team.
And there he is, Mike Amanga. Now Graham Hallis does well to slip the pass away for Ikoku. Brewer's in there too, and that almost developed into another fracas. But they've just about kept their tempers this time, and here come Halifax now with Craig Dean into a Bradford sandwich. Rowley to Harrison. Along the line, Moana, and Moana nearly, they just nailed him by the ankle, but even so, Halifax have got a situation here from which they might score. Bentley took the pass from Michael Jackson, but the Bulls forced him back, and it's the handover. Midway through the second half at Odsal, Bradford Bulls 20, Halifax Blue Sox 18. And if you like your Sunday afternoon sport raw and full of passion, this certainly is the place to come this season. Well, if Bradford do win, it will be one of the hardest fought victories they've had all season. McDermott's just emerged from the tunnel again, so we can probably expect to see him back in the thick of things as Tomlinson just picks up, gives it to Paul. Robbie Paul certainly hasn't had the space and influence on this game. He's not made the breaks you normally associate with him. Tomlinson now makes one. Does well. Still Glenn Tomlinson. How did he find a way through there? Oh, he's a very, very crafty player, Tomlinson. And he's set Bradford up here for another tilt at the Halifax line. That must have been a forward pass, you might have thought. Well, yes, it was given. Had to be a forward pass.
Well, referee Steve Presler looked as though he was going to play it on. I think it was a call from the linesman on the other side. But no doubt about that, a yard forward. There's another Bradford player copped a late one on that far side. So they'll be down to 12 men in defence, and it's up to Halifax to try and break that 12-man defence to get back into the lead.
Keep hearing that cry of forward, whichever way it's going. Harrison now, 3 Bulls surround him. And cheering from the Bradford fans, because they believe that the referee's got that right. And Bradford will have the put into the next scrum.
Boys and girls, I remind you at the end of the game, please do stay behind. There are some ceremonies to be done. Also, running forward until the other members of the team will be making some speeches. So please stay behind, but I must urge you to stay off the pitch. It will only delay the proceedings. Thank you.
Well, some of the Bradford Bulls players are apparently going to do some talking on the pitch after the match, but I think the fans want to see them do their talking right now, because this game has been far from one-sided. John Scales looks to be leaving with a head wound. And so Paul Cook will come on, and we'll go straight into Scales' left wing position. Robbie Paul gone off. Well, that's an interesting switch. Paul's certainly not been at his best today. Here goes Tomlinson, who's had a good 10 minutes. Dwyer at acting half-back. Feeds it on for Fairbank. Running as strongly as ever, Carl Fairbank, the former Great Britain tourist. Inside Medley. Spins out of one tackle, but not the second of Harrison's. And the Bulls' rather laborious process at the moment. So they'll be looking to Spruce to join in, which is exactly what he does now. And he's got tremendous upper body strength. Halifax just haven't been able to cope with him. Now it's Sonny Nicol. The kick is hoisted by McNamara. Hogarth Cook racing over there, but it's just too long. But a bit of variety.
Well, I think Bentley would have been a little bit worried there. Not the fact that the ball was coming over, but the last shreds of sunshine and in Bentley's eyes in that far corner. And it's quite easy just to lose sight of the ball. And fortunately for Halifax, the kick a little bit too deep. If it had stopped in play, Bentley was under pressure, no doubt about it.
Well, it's Bentley in possession now, and under pressure again with a 2-man tackle on him. Up and over, and that's the way to handle them. And that was Michael Jackson. Really rolled over. But Halifax have really stuck to their guns today, and there's only 2 points in it. Certainly anybody's game at the moment. Harrison. Well, again, he's got past the hour mark, Carl Harrison, on a hot afternoon without too many problems, which speaks volumes for his fitness, because he's not the youngest man on the pitch by any means. That's a useful kick through for Halifax. That's a cracker of a kick, taking play right into that Bradford Bulls corner. Bradford Bulls will have the put in, but I would think Halifax are delighted with the way they've coped here generally.
I think they've done well. They've perhaps put a lot into the first half, and they'll be looking at getting the second win towards the last quarter of this game. But I think Brian Smith's instructions were to shut down Dean and Brewer, the Halifax halfbacks, and the Bulls have done it to good effect in the second half. Dean not just having as much space as he had in the first half, and it's therefore slowing down the Halifax play.
But the Bulls have been forced to take off Robbie Paul, and that doesn't happen very often. Play's going to be brought back despite Bradley's break. And a penalty for Halifax, and the chance here for them to go level at 20 points apiece. Carl Harrison points to the sticks, and this is a great opportunity. Now I think Schuster's gone off, has he? No, he's still on, so Schuster's going to take the kick, obviously. He's kicked 3 already today, and this certainly well within his compass. And at 20 points apiece, it would be game on again. Well, indiscipline costing the Bulls there. So John Schuster here, who's already created his own milestone this afternoon with his 100th goal of the season, looks to pop this one over. That he does, and we're back at 20-20.
There's always a sharp intake of breath when a player kicks the ball high, and the touch judges seem to take an age, especially when it's a pressure kick like that to bring the scores level again. But the flags went up eventually, and as you say, we're back at all square. About quarter of an hour to go, and still all to play for.
Very much so. Well, it's survival of the fittest now, and only brave hearts wanted out there as Matt Callan goes down in the tackle. And Tamani, who's not had many great running chances, he's looked for work all afternoon, but that wasn't the best play of the ball you've ever seen. Bradley now, scorer of one of the Bulls' tries today, keeps going but doesn't make much headway. Now Tomlinson does, and Tomlinson has certainly been more effective on this afternoon than Robbie Paul was. Here come Bradford now, little chip ahead, Medley will gather, and he'll carry on, and he'll pass the ball inside. Referee says play on, and a try for Matt Callan, and Bradford both score. Halifax seemed to stand still. Medley was the one who made the original plunge towards the Blue Sox line. It went through three pairs of hands, and at the end of it all, Matt Callan is over his 12th try of the season, and the Bulls are roaring him back in front again.
Well, the Bradford Bulls supporters won't disagree with Steve Presley on this occasion, but the first pass went to ground and the second one looked forward, but you play to the whistle. Callan did, and he's put Bradford, he's given Bradford the try that's given them breathing space again. An easy kick for Tomlinson in front of the post will perhaps re-establish that 6-point lead, but Halifax, I think we're waiting for the referee to blow his whistle. But you play to it, Halifax didn't and paid the price.
That they did, but Halifax would certainly be disappointed with the two of the Bradford Bulls tries in this half. That one from Matt Callan and the one earlier from Stuart Spruce. Now Tomlinson takes over goal-kicking duties from McNamara. This to make it 26-20. And that's the score now. But the way this game has gone, it's far from over, and you wouldn't want to bet too much money on the eventual outcome.
Number 7, Paul Cook.
Thanks, Paul Cook, isn't it? Fool us all. Paul Cook, of course, taking that kick. Tomlinson number 2, Paul Cook number 7, and Paul Cook, who's a terrific cooker, of course, with his 53rd goal of the season. It's a great tackle by Nicol, and what's more, the ball went to ground, and Bradford claim, yeah, the touch judge says that was one heck of a tackle from Sonny Nicol.
Well, it was a superb tackle from Nicol, and Aiton went over awkwardly, but I'm not sure whether he let go of the ball or not. He still had his arm around it, but it was the linesman again who made the decision. Seems that linesmen are just important, I stand corrected, touch judges are just important as the man in the middle these days, because they're constantly using them to make the decisions.
The ball certainly went onto the ground, but whether or not he ever released it, we shall never know. but it means that Bradford will have the put in at this scrum, and if they do get a score from this, then you'd really start to fancy them to win.
Well, I think they've got the way on top in the second half with a bit less flair than they tried in the first half, and it's worked to good effect. It's not been just as spectacular, but it has been effective, and Bradford with a 6-point lead, as you say, you'd expect them perhaps to seal the game from this position.
And here goes Graham Bradley. 12 metres out. Fairbank. 10 metres out. Bernard Dwyer. Oh, he wonders which way to go, and in the end he had to take it himself and gets to within 5 metres. So if they get another 5, they'll be in, but they've got that to do yet, and they've got this Halifax line to negotiate. Ooh, they nearly did it with Doniger. Terrific tackle on him there. But Bradford are still here with the chances. McNamara, he's just held. And it's the last tackle. Now then, can Bradford really steal the game now? Clinch it with this. It's the last tackle. And Loughlin hoists a very strange kick. It's taken by Bradley. Whips it straight to a Halifax player who said thanks very much. It was Craig Dean. I don't think Bradley could believe it.
I think that was just Bradley again releasing the ball in a panic to perhaps seal the game. Halifax quite rightly let him have the ball, but they had to be quick onto him. He managed to do well. It looked as though Bradford may have scored. Halifax breathe again, but they need to get to the other end of the field, and they're going to find it tough against a Bradford defence that's done well throughout the second half.
Bradford Bulls 26, Halifax Blue Sox 20. The ball juggled and Bradford have it back. Harrison the one who lost it, and that's what the Bulls needed. Again, it's a very unclean play, the ball. And here goes Carl Fairbank looking for support. There's none there. Bradford are regrouping, and if they steady themselves now, they might clinch it. This is Sonny Nicoll again on the outside. Sonny Nicoll has certainly made an impact since he came on. Now it's Bradley. He was wise enough this time not to release the pass. Didn't have to do. Bernard Dwyer waits. Onto his shoulder comes Matt Calland, scorer of the last Bulls try. Still going, got to get the ball away. That he does to Loughlin. Oh, and the interception is made, and Halifax are going to score here. He won't get there, won't Spruce, and it's going to be a try for Schuster. Well, in the first half, Schuster almost got there. It was said he'd lost some of his pace. He had enough to outstrip Stuart Spruce there, and from a position where the Bradford Bulls look certain to score, the action switches straight to the other end of the field. Schuster gets the try, and it's the Halifax Blue Sox in front. Oh, they'll be level when they get this goal.
Well, I think I'm another man that won't be getting a drink in Halifax tonight. I've had a few nightmares this afternoon, called it wrong on a couple of occasions, and I've just said that the Blue Sox would struggle to get to the other end of the field, and the man who I said had lost a bit of his pace in the first half races onto the interception, outpaces Spruce, who's not short of pace, and scores a try which he will surely convert from in front of the post to make it all square again.
Well, what a game it's going to be. Well, it's been a quite remarkable game, this one. Bradford in the lead with consummate ease. Halifax coming back to go in front at half-time, 18-10. Then the Bulls roaring again. And now Schuster converts his own try, and we're all square at 26 points apiece with only minutes left.
Both sets of players have put every ounce of effort into it on under strength-sapping conditions. The sun only just going down, but it's still very, very warm evening at Odsal.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Halifax will kick off and give Bradford the possession, but this game's had everything you could want for a top-class rugby league match.
Yes, it's been a good advert for the game. 13,196, another massive crowd here at Odsal to see it. Gone are the days of 102,000 people coming here. Now Termani. Well, Bradford have got 5 tries, Halifax have got 4, but Schuster's boot has made all the difference. He's kicked 5 goals and he's got one of their tries as well. But it's not all over, and Robbie Paul's come back on to try and orchestrate a Bradford victory even at this late stage. The pass is there, and that was Paul, and they just got his ankle. He's still going, Robbie Paul, dragged down on the 20. But here Bradford, the Bulls, racing towards that Halifax line. One last opportunity maybe for them. Sonny Nicol, here's Joe Tamani, he's got to keep in play, lobs it back in field, and the ball is still with Bradford, is it? But it was knocked on anyway. And we'll have a scrum. Well, it looked as though Robbie Paul was on his way then.
Well, I think he went down in that case. You look at the incident earlier where Spruce got up off his knees, but Robbie Paul had gone down fully. Having said that, there wasn't a man around him. He got allowed to continue, and it looked as though Robbie Paul was perhaps going to do the first thing that the Bulls fans could remember this afternoon of him.
Amona made a good break there for Halifax. Amanga comes into it too. Oh, the Mangas and Amonas. Thank goodness Tuilangi isn't playing today as well. Not forgetting Moana, of course. Well, it's Halifax now with a chance to set themselves up, and Bentley's racing up here to challenge Cook, and Bentley's got it. And is he over? No. The referee has ruled no try. He said that Bentley was in an offside position, I think, from the kick, and a penalty has been awarded against John Bentley. Close one, to say the least.
Well, I think it's solely the referee that would have spotted him offside, because everybody's going to have been following the ball on that kick, and the tussle on that far side, which Bentley won, and that might be possibly Halifax's last chance unless Bradford come up with the error. But there with another 6 tackles to get down towards the Halifax line, it's in for a big finale.
It certainly is. Sympathy there for John Bentley, but not from the Bradford fans, who were fearing the worst when he went in. Here's Nicol, held on halfway, and an excellent tackle by Carl Harrison. It's up to Bradford to come and win it, and Robbie Paul will be involved again here. Looks for a scything run now. Spruce again, might well be man of the match. He's got 2 tries, feeds off to Medley. Dwyer involved now. Now it's Tamani, has to cut back in field, Joe Tamani. Oh, and the crowd urging him not to release the ball there. Dwyer into Bradley. One last hope maybe for Bradford, and Bradley's going, and he gets the ball away, and just at the last moment Carl Fairbank was unable to squeeze away the pass, but the Bulls are here and they're roaring, and they go for the drop goal, and it's a weak effort, and the ball goes dead, and it just hasn't happened for them there. Tomlinson with the try, didn't come off. Halifax sigh a breath of relief.
Well, it never really got off the ground in that one. There was Bradley and Eighton toe-to-toe in back play. There was all sorts going on there. Tomlinson had the space. I don't recall him kicking many drop goals. It would have been a crucial one for the Bulls, but as it is, Halifax breathe again, and now they head off up towards the Bradford line.
I think he's just kicked 1 this season, Tomlinson. Again, that cry of forward pass, but Harrison plunges on. So a few more heart-stopping moments for the Bradford Bulls fans. But Halifax have certainly contributed in no small measure to the entertainment value here today. And it's 26-26, and now Schuster might go for one. Kicks high. Oh, that could be troublesome. Spruce has to take it, took it superbly. Well, you couldn't blame the Halifax player for following through in the tackle. Moana and Stuart Spruce again, commanding figure. Cook hold down. Sonny Nicol.
Number 28, Stuart Spruce.
And indeed, Stuart Spruce is nominated as man of the match, and I don't think there can be any great argument about that. But is there time for this issue to be settled? Can the Bulls or the Blue Sox eke out a victory here from a game that has been destined for a draw for a few minutes now, ever since that Schuster try and goal? Oh, that had to be a forward pass and gave Tamani no hope at all. The ball goes out. Halifax will have the put into the scrum, and this might just be one crucial moment for them to try and wrap it up.
Well, time's up on the clock. I think we're into injury time. This is going to be the last 6 if they get a chance to play it out. Perhaps Schuster lining up for a drop goal. Halifax might take it nearer the post first. Brewer's off with a first run.
Yeah, there he is, Brewer. Acting half a manga. Scorer of 2 tries today for the Blue Fox, and they're into great position for a drop. Maybe they won't need it. Here goes John Bentley. Pinned down, but the situation is perfect here for Halifax to go for that drop, and Schuster, he may have done it. It's sailing high and it's sailing handsome, and John Schuster may well have won the match for Halifax Blue Sox. There was a roar went up from the Halifax fans massed behind the uprights there. They knew from the moment it left his left boot that was going straight between, sailing between the sticks, and it's now Bradford Bulls 26, Halifax Blue Sox 27.
Well, it's nice to have a man that can drop goals off both feet. Dwyer was the man that put pressure on Schuster earlier, forcing him into the high ball, which Spruce took perfectly. He set up for the right that time, checked, back in for the left, right in front of the post. It went through the middle, and as you say, the point was already on the board for the Halifax supporters before it went over the uprights. And Halifax stealing perhaps 2 league points at the death at Odsal,
which would give them their first victory on this ground in a decade. But to be fair, they've kept plugging away, and it's amazing how many times over the years they have beaten Bradford when everybody expected the opposite. Is there time even yet for the Bulls? And Spruce is the one man that really they must be terrified by. Sonny Nicol, he'll straighten up, he can't get the ball away. Halifax fans are praying for that hooter now. Fairbank. Ooh, and a brutal tackle coming in that time from Amona. Dwyer with a longer ball. Now it's Robbie Paul. Checks, tries to get off one foot. And really struggling there to keep possession. Bradford. Did the ball touch the Halifax hand? No. Last tackle, I believe. So Tomlinson tries to chip through. Hacked on by Medley. There's a real race on here. But Halifax's Amanga dives on the ball. Crucially for the Blue Sox. And it's Halifax's possession with Ikoku. And I would imagine we're in time added on here. And the fans think Ikoku's playing for time, which he may well be doing. A bit of gamesmanship. Never went amiss. So it looks like being a disappointing afternoon for the fans who turned up here, anticipating it to be a great one. As I've said before, Halifax are local rivals. There's deadly rivalry between these sides. And Halifax, having lost by 2 points at Thrum Hall, are on the verge of winning the one here by 1 point. And they get good possession again with Rowley. They might win by more than 1 point. They're coming up towards the Bradford try line again, and that's an excellent kick from young Craig Dean. He's had a good day at half-back.
Well, he's certainly not been outshone by Robbie Paul. He's been the pick of the 2 scrum halves. He's constantly prompt and probed the Bradford defence. He's been shut down a little bit in the second half, as we said earlier, but that kick, perfect, into the corner, forcing Bradford back towards their own line. And now all Halifax have to do, or should have to do, is hold out for the 6 tackles.
Yeah, Bradford need an 80-yard try from somebody, don't they? That's the only way you think they're going to win it now, with that final hooter. There it is, and Halifax Blue Sox have won a famous victory at Odsal. You'd have thought they'd just won the Challenge Cup. And Steve Sims, who didn't endear himself to people here at Bradford earlier in the season when he said that they would finish halfway down the league, was off the bench there to punch the air in delight. But they've taken the spoils. Bradford have been in front for long spells of this match. But at the end of the day, it's the Blue Sox who snatched the victory. Thanks very much to Johnny Schuster, who got a late interception try, a conversion and a drop goal. And he, along with Mike Amanga, who got 2 first-half tries, have helped Halifax win the day. And Bradford, for whom Stuart Spruce, the man of the match, was outstanding with 2 tries, have been beaten here for the first time this season.
I think it's a bit unfair that Steve Presley's being booed off the field, because I think when you look at the penalty count, Bradford will find it's gone their way in quite a big ratio. But Halifax, Steve Sims' tactics, whatever they were, he's changed them all this week. And Bradford really should have sewn it up with all the chances they had in the first half. And if part of Steve Sims' tactics was to force the error over the line, then it's certainly come off, because Halifax have clung on magnificently. And when it looked as though they'd run out of steam when Bradford scored that final try, they came back, and Schuster, with the old legs, with the interception, and then the drop goal, sealed the 2 points for Halifax in a marvellous advert for Super League at Oddsall.